Close your eyes. Imagine a great work of art. The oil on the canvas is dominated by a night sky rolling with chromatic blue swirls, a glowing yellow crescent moon, and stars rendered as radiating orbs. One or two flame-like cypress trees tower over the foreground to the left, their dark branches curling and swaying to the movement of the sky that they partially obscure. Amid all this animation, a structured village sits in the distance on the lower right of the canvas. Straight, controlled lines make up the small cottages and the slender steeple of a church, which rises as a beacon against the rolling blue hills. The glowing yellow squares of the houses suggest the welcoming lights of peaceful homes, creating a calm corner amidst the painter's turbulence. Oh, sorry, did I say art? I meant image generation prompt. But wait, what's the difference here? They're basically the same final product. And the descriptions are identical. So why is one some lesser product? Well, first we have to ask, what is art? This is something that I've thought a lot about recently. And people are constantly talking about AI art and how art is dead now and that AI can do anything that a human can do in just seconds. Now, I'm a musician and I haven't escaped this either. Every day now you see some new AI band or YouTube playlist channel that puts out 3 hours of rat jazz or, anything. And it's constantly kind of in your face and you sit there and you wonder, is this the same music that I make? I live to go on stage, to perform music that I write and be up there with other people and around other people performing for. And you sit there and you wonder. The answer feels like it should be no, right? Like, it seems like that this other product is some lesser thing than what me or any other artists out there do. And so, I went looking for answers. And I found that the answer actually lies in just definition. As defined by Britannica, art is a visual object or experience consciously created through an expression of skill or imagination. Now, maybe you caught the key piece there. Consciously. Now, this is a crucial misunderstanding that basically is just running rampant through our entire culture right now. That basically AI art isn't real. Everyone is talking about AI art. And it's just not a thing because by definition, it can't make it. It's not conscious. So that's what makes Starry Night so special. It's not about just the colors or the composition, but it's the expression of how Van Gogh felt about the sky on that night. It's about his feelings, his experience that he put into the artwork. And that's something that can really never be taken away from the original. I can put in this prompt, right? And get an image that is nearly identical to Van Gogh's original piece, but it has none of the substance because it's not art. It's not. And that's something that really sits nicely with me, to know that in my own work and in all of the people that I cares about work, to know that genuinely we're not competing. And this isn't, just Britannica's definition. It's like mirrored in almost every single definition or kind of conversation that I've found on art, is that there's some piece of it that needs to be about experience or imagination, or I guess just taking on what's on the inside and bringing it out. And AI doesn't do that. AI is taking a set of guidelines and then putting something that mimics that. But this doesn't solve our problem, right? Okay, great. AI can't make art. People make art. Yay. They're still taking our jobs. They're still destroying the space. They're destroying the industry of art because we're replacing it. And that's a real concern. I think that that's something that is going to get worse before it gets better. But I think it is going to get better. And I think that AI is actually the key to bringing art back to the forefront. Look at the space that we've been in, like, these last 30 years. I feel like we've all felt it to some degree, at least those of us that are kind of tuned into the art world in some way. And when I say art, I don't really mean, like, oh, hi, art. I mean, like, things that make you feel something, that really move you, that tap into your humanity. And I think that's most of us. But there's been this kind of, like, void in all of these spaces where everything has felt so corporatized and felt so deeply kind of disconnected from truth and life and all of that. And I think a lot of artists have felt that too. They felt very, like, pushed into the box of, I have to make stuff that sells because it is about the money now. And not that it wasn't about the money before, but now it is all about the money. And it's not about making money off art. It's about making money. And AI is kind of like the full realization of that. But we'll get back to that in a second. I think one of the biggest kind of disconnects that people are facing right now about this is that it hasn't happened before. That this is a new phenomenon, that we are facing a foe that we have never come up against before, especially in the art world, right? It's like, oh, yes, machines take the jobs of the factory workers, and so then they get other jobs, and that doesn't really work for art, right? And so it's especially kind of a gut punch right now. But there is actually something very similar that's happened in the past, and that's a little something called the photograph. I cannot express this enough. For the majority of human history, there was not pictures. There were painters. There was wealthy people who would commission artists to paint them. For many hours, it took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and they went for realism. They wanted to capture the true essence of a person because that was your legacy. You have someone like Queen Victoria who was like, make me look good because I don't think I look good. Make me look better. So that way history remembers me like this because that was what you left behind. There was no truthful way to capture someone other than painting. And so, for the majority of human history, that's how things went. And then comes a little invention called the photograph. And then the world catches on fire, or at least the painting world, right? You come along, and what took you hours could be done better than you could do it in a second. And that really bothered people. In 1839, you had an extremely famous French painter named Paul Delacour, when he first saw a photograph, proclaim, "From this day, painting is dead." And while, yes, the historical accuracy of such a statement is kind of wishy-washy because it was just reported on, it wasn't exactly like, there wasn't video, right? So we don't really know that he said it. It's kind of thrown around a lot, though, to kind of show the feeling that painters had at the time. They really felt like they had been replaced. Someone could now do it in a second what they could do in 4 hours. They weren't needed anymore. But then something really interesting happened. Painting evolved. And a little painter named Monet came along. Right there, actually. And they brought about the Impressionist movement. The Impressionist movement is really interesting for a lot of reasons that I can't fully get into right now. But at its core, the really big revolution of that time was that painters stopped painting reality and started painting their feelings. Now, obviously, artists have always painted their feelings. That's not new. But I mean so more in the final piece, I guess. You have things that reflect reality less and experiment more. And that's how painting stayed alive. And the Impressionist movement evolved into the Post-Impressionist movement, which is where you get Van Gogh, in the 20th century, you also have recorded music. And it's a very, very similar story to the painters, right? You have music which through all of human history, I can't express that enough, right, was performed live. You could not hear music unless you went somewhere to hear it. You went to the opera. You had bands. You had composers and orchestras and all of this. And then out of nowhere, I could get me a disc that I could put into a record player and then put on a radio, and I could listen to it in my house or in the car or any other number of places, right? And musicians were afraid as hell because they weren't needed anymore. Get a speaker, right? Play the music. Why do we need you? And yes, you still needed people to write new music, but money wasn't performing. There wasn't such thing as the recording industry yet, right? And that ushers in an even bigger era than maybe Impressionist painting, and that's production. Every song that you've ever listened to, unless you just really like to go back and listen to old music, has had some level of production on it. But in more recent times, production is an art form all to its own. You have these producers that people kill to have on their tracks because there's an entire another world of art there. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here with AI. It's just another one of these massive disruptive technological innovations inside of the art world. It's happened a lot of times before, and it's scary. People are worried about their livelihoods, their jobs, their art forms, and if there's still going to be space for that in a world that can create what they can create in a second. But the thing is that it does not have their soul. It does not have their experience behind it, and so it's not art. But yeah, it's scary, and it really raises a lot of questions because this landscape is so designed for just whatever gets people to watch, right? It's not about the art. It's about profit. And that brings me back to what I was saying a little while ago about the landscape, right? And the title of this video. It's AI is going to save art, not kill it. And here's why I think that. This is going to get bad for a while, I think. Dead internet theory, if you're familiar, is this idea that there aren't people on the internet. It's just a bunch of bots, and we're kind of living through that right now. It's more of a dead internet reality than a theory anymore. And yeah, artists are going to lose their jobs. But the thing is they're not losing their job to AI art. They're losing their jobs to AI content. And that landscape is going to get saturated. And I think it's going to breathe new life into art because the only way to survive and to make profit in the future is going to be art again. There's not going to be room for content slop. People can't make content slop anymore and make money off that because AI can do it better. Because really what they're making there isn't art in some way, or if it is, it's by accident. It's a little piece of them they put into it without even realizing it. And I think that pendulum is going to now have to swing back. It is the only way that companies are going to be able to compete. And it's the only way that artists are going to be able to compete. And it's sad, and I think it's going to be a bumpy road. But I think in the end, AI is going to be the thing that kills this corporate landscape, that kills all of the movies and music and games and any other art form, to be honest with you, that's just about making something that sells. I think we're going to see, just like with photography, just like with production, that a new era of art that honestly probably we can't even imagine right now is going to come about, just like those other times, and it's going to be unlike anything we've ever seen before, and I'm here for it. And I do fear for the road that is to come to get there, but I think in the end, AI